This is a PHB class today. Before beginning the class, we will offer our respectful gratitude to Shri Khemka sir and JP Agrawal sir and whole ASPUS team for allowing these lectures. Okay, so do you all have the book of this Manav Sharir Vigyan? So refer the book, and I will try to share the PDF also. So you can speak whatever I ask, please, so that I will means you can convey something, whatever you want to tell.
Sir, we all have books, sir.
Yes. So we will begin with the chapter number 11, that is locomotor system.
Just a minute, sir. Actually, I had given 5 minutes break. So just
Okay.
2 minutes if
No
you
problem.
can.
You can have 5 minutes break. We will begin after. Okay, this ends your 5 minutes. Shall we begin the class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because we have to cover a lot of syllabus. Okay, this is 11th chapter, page number 125 from this Manav Sharir Vigyan. Locomotor system. What is meant by locomotor system? Anybody? Movements of all the body. Locomotion. Going from one place to another. Okay, so locomotor system basically, correct, movements. So basically contents with of bones, that is skeletal system, and muscles, musculoskeletal system, and the innervations, nervous system, along with that for the movement, motor part of the movement. So this is called as a locomotor system. So in the first 2 lines it is given that bones and skeletal muscles take part of this system, except some bones of skull and face. Now, how many bones are there? Before that, the content of the bone is being mentioned. Calcium, phosphate, and carbonate. These are the 3 main contents. Correct. 206 bones. Calcium, phosphate, and carbonate. These are the main contents. Then out of inorganic elements that is approximately 1 kg, 99% of the calcium. Calcium is 99% in the bones and 1% other elements. Then it gives what is the function of this skeletal system? It gives the shape and the central axis to whole of the body. Then 2 bones which work as a pivot for each other at a joint give movement to body parts with the help of muscles. Now come to the bones. There are 206 bones in whole body, human body. Which are they? It is given in the table. There are 2 types of skeletal, axial skeletal and appendicular skeletal. Axial skeletal, it's at the axis, the central axis of the body, and one second is the appendicular skeleton, which includes the upper limb, lower limb, and the girdles. Means this is pectoral girdle above in the chest and the pelvic girdle below. Now axial skeletal, there are 80 numbers of bones. Now little bit conflict is there in the numbering of the bones. See here it has mentioned there are 21 bones in the skull, but if we will see the standard books of the anatomy, they have mentioned there are 22 bones in the skull. Why? There are 14 bones which are paired and 8 bones, 14 plus 8. 14 plus bones are there in the skull. Actually, I will share you one thing. So there will be no confusion. See, there are cranial bones, means cranium, which protects the skull, which protects the brain, actual brain. So cranial bones are, this is frontal bone, 1, it is 1. Then parietal, occipital bone, backside, that is a 2. That is 1 bone. Then parietal bones, these both sides, right and left, parietal, these are 2. Then temporal bones, these are again 2. Then sphenoidal bone and ethmoid bone. These are the sphenoid and ethmoid. 2 bones are there. So total 8 bones are there from the cranium and 14 bones of the facial. Face is having 14 numbers of bones. Out of that, nasal concha, here 2 bones. Nasal bones, actual nasal septum, it is divided into half. That is nasal 2 bones. Maxilla bones, these 2 palatine bones, and lacrimal bones here inside. Zygomatic bone 2 and mandible omer. This is mandible. These are the 14 bones. So 8 plus 14 is equal to 22 bones are there in the skull. Then these are actually considered as bones, but not as such, because these are very soft bones, delicate bones. Which are they? Ossicles of both the ears. You might be knowing that ear is having 3 types of bones. Which are they? Can anybody tell? Malleus, incus, and stapes. These are the names of 3 bones, which are very essential bones, which conducts, which transfers the voice from the air into the liquid, which is called as a labyrinth. One liquid is there inside the ear. So from air, the voice sound goes inside that, and these bones are vibrating because of that sound, and that vibration gets inside the inner ear. Means from external ear to internal ear. This is the joint. This is the bridge. These 3 bones in a 3 shape. This is the bridge actually. Malleus, incus, and stapes. So one ear contains 3 bones, 6 bones of these are called as ossicles. These are the ear bones. These are very tiny, very smallest bone in the whole body. Okay. Then lower jaw mandible, it is already mentioned, and the neck bone, hyoid bone, this one. This is 1 in number. Then vertebral column. Actually, if you will measure the vertebral column, it is mentioned here the number of vertebral column bones are 26, but actually it's not there. See, vertebral column, cervical, there are 7 bones. Thoracic, there are 12 bones. Then lumbar, there are 5 bones, 5 vertebrae, and sacrum, there are 5 again. So 7 and 12, it's a 19, 5 and 5, 10, 19 and 10, so 29. Already it becomes 29. And coccyx, if you will consider coccyx as a single bone, even though that becomes 30. If it is coccyx 2 in number, it becomes 31. 3 in numbers, it becomes 32. And 4 in numbers, it becomes 33. So there are total 33 vertebrae in the spine of the human body. 33 numbers. So these first are 14 plus 8 is equal to 22. Then all vertebral column, that is 33. So this becomes 55. Okay. Then chest. We will see this chest. Chest is having the rib cage. Rib cage, there are 12 pairs of the ribs. 12 pair means 14 bones, and all the ribs are connected to the sternum, the central sternum bone, which is called as a sternum. So it's a 25th. So these are total number 25. So 22, 33, and 25 becomes 80. It is like that. So these ossicles and lower jaw mandible, neck hyoid. Mandible is considered, but neck hyoid and ossicles are not considered as the actual bone part, as far as the proper Gray's anatomy is considered. It's a standard anatomy book, Gray's. Okay. Have you understood this? These are 80 number of bones. Okay, we will go ahead. Then there are appendicular skeleton. Appendicular skeleton means limbs, upper limbs and lower limbs. Then you will have to know this shoulder. Shoulder means what? Both sides. Scapula bone is there, backside, scapula, and this is clavicle. Clavicle upside. Clavicle and scapula, this becomes, and this humerus bone, this all becomes shoulder joint actually. But we will count the bones now. 2 scapulae and 2 clavicle. Okay. Then upper arm, only humerus, 2 sides. Humerus. These are again 2. Then lower arm, come to the lower arm, radius and ulna. There are 2 bones here, radius and ulna. So these are again 2 plus 2. Wrist, that is carpal. In the wrist joint, there are carpals. These are 8 in number. So 8 and 8 becomes 16. Then in the hand, actually, metacarpals. These are the metacarpals. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Sorry
and 5.
to disturb, sir. Can you please tell the page number once again? We are not able to figure it out.
Yeah, it's a locomotor system, page number 125. I'm just, I can share if you don't have the book. Do you have this book? Manav Sharir Vigyan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so 125 page number. There is one table they have mentioned.
Sir, it is better if you share the book. Who got this?
Okay. Yeah, book is there with me. I can share, no problem. Wait a minute. Yeah. Can you see this now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You can see this.
It's Nano Sharir Vignan.
Yeah, it's a Manav Sharir Vigyan. Correct. Now you can see it in this on the screen. Scapula, clavicle, then humerus, radius, ulna, then carpal. These are 8 bones, 8 in number. They are carpals here. Then metacarpals. These are 5 in number. Then finger phalanges. These are 14. You can count 3, 3, 3, 3, and 2. These are 14 in numbers. So 14 and 14 become 28. Okay. Then come to the C. Now you can count. These are the 64 in numbers total. Scapula 2, clavicle 2, humerus 2, radius 2, ulna 2, carpal 8 plus 8 equal to 16. Metacarpus 5 plus 5 is a 10. And finger phalanges 14 plus 14 equal to 28. That becomes 64. Okay. Now come to lower limb. These are the paired again. Pelvis means thigh. It is femur bone. Pelvis are 2. That is the pelvic girdle. Pelvic girdle. So pelvic girdle 2 in number. Then humerus, the thigh bone, that is 2 in number. Knee or patella, knee joint, the patella is outside, that is 2 in number. Leg tibia is 2 number. Fibula, again 2 in number, 1 plus 1. Then ankle joint, tarsals are there. Just like in wrist, there are 8 bones. Like that, in ankle, there are 7 numbers of bones. So 7 plus 7 equal to 14. And in the foot, like this metacarpals, there are metatarsals in the foot. They are 5. They are 5 in number. 5 plus 5, 10. And toes, phalanges, just like this, 14. They are 14. 14 plus 14 is 28. So it becomes 62 numbers, because only in the ankle joint there are 7 and in the wrist joint there are 8. So 2 minus. So these are 64 plus 62 is equal to 126 and previously 80. So it all becomes 206 bones. Okay. Now what is the bone? Bones are not dead but alive as well as active. The rate of metabolism is slow in them and their cells not destroy rapidly. Though the formation of bone starts at embryonic phase, but they become stronger after the birth. Bone becomes stronger after birth. After, that is called as a, in acupuncture language, it is called as a postnatal. After postnatal, like after birth, in this life, as we get the supplement, different supplement from the food, the bones become stronger. Then, yeah, it's next page. Here. Then we will see the what is the influence on the bones. See, though the height of a child increase up to the adult age, so bones keep remodeling. Again, means like height is increasing, bones are remodeling. They are also growing. So their length, their width also growing. And the influential factors are growth hormone, thyroxine, thyrocalcitonin, parathormone, and sex hormones. Now, composition of the bone. By which substances or which chemicals include the bones, density of the bones? The water is 25% and solid material is almost 75%. And organic protein is 30%. Inorganic elements like calcium, phosphate, carbonate, these are 36% and other ions are 9%. So we do not go in that much details. Now we will come to the next point, structure of bones. How is the structure of bones? The structure of bone is, it has a cylindrical cavity inside every bone at the center, which is called as the medullary cavity, It is filled with soft spongy tissue, which are take part in the blood formation. Every bone has this spongy tissue, actually, soft spongy tissue, by which the blood is being formed in our body. But especially when we grow, the main long bones, especially this sternum, then this tibia, fibula, then radius ulna, humerus, then thigh bone, femur. These are especially useful for in the formation of the blood. There's white blood, WBCs, RBCs, platelets, everything is being formed in that. Now, the cavity is surrounded by the vascular areolar tissue membrane, which is known as the endosteum. Now, these are the three different layers. Endosteum, inside the bone. Outside of it is called as the trabecular meshwork, which is able to bear the stress. There is a trabecular meshwork. Outside the, means inside, there is one layer, which is endosteum. Then there is a meshwork, trabecular meshwork, that is because that is for the bearing of the stress, wet bearing. Then outside of this spongy bone, there is a thin layer, compact bone, and dense in structure, looks like an ivory. This layer gives protection to internal layers. Fibrous membrane periosteum is the outermost covering. So every bone in the body has a covering, which is called as a periosteum. Okay. Now, there are cells, and these cells are called as the osteoblast. Now, you can see in physiology, it is mentioned, if bone is forming, which is called as the osteoblastic activity, means osteoblast, means these cells are the bone cells, very tiny cells, which come together and form a structure of the bone, which is called as a osteoblastic activity. So this is osteoblastic cells, and there are also osteoclastic activity, which are the degeneration or the destruction of the bone cells. Sometimes it happens in the later ages, like after 40 or something like. So these are called as the osteoclastic activities. Now, what are the functions of the bones? What are the functions in general? Bones in children are more elastic than the adults. There is elasticity is more in the bones in the children's. Now we will see what are the different functions. Which is first is a weight bearing capacity, the stress bearing or the weight bearing, and it gives the shape to the body. Now they have mentioned some values here. You can see here. Yeah, clavicle bone is able to handle the weight. How much? 190 kilograms. Humerus bone, this one, it is 600 kilograms, and the femur bone, thigh bone, it is almost 756 kilograms. Bones have power to change themselves according to the situations. Means what? According to the situations, bones are formed. Like suppose in one person, by operating procedure or somehow, we reduce the tibia bone from the leg. We remove the tibia bone. Then what happens? The other bone present in the leg, which is a fibula, becomes thick and strong enough to bear the weight of the whole body. So body adapts and it grows for the bearing of whole body weight. So the bones are like that. They can be remodeled. Okay, according to the situations. They are according themselves. Then the bones give shape. These are the now these are the functions. Bones gives the shape to the central axis to the body. First, then second is protection to the internal organs, such as the skull protects the bone, this brain. Then lungs and heart are protected by this rib cage. Okay. Then bones provide the space for attachment of muscles, so that the joint are formed and it becomes movable. Body becomes movable. Now this bone part is almost finished. Now we will come to the skeletal muscle structure. Skeletal muscle. Now from bone, there are coverings all over the bones. Coverings of what? Muscle. Every bone is covered by the muscle. So these are called as the skeletal muscles. These are voluntary in nature, just like nerves. They have excitability, but they also have contractility, and due to this, they are able to produce movements on the joints of bones. So the muscles which are just above and near and surrounding to the any joint, which are especially called the skeletal muscles. Okay, how is the structure of the skeletal muscle? Bone muscle is made up of several muscle bundles, okay, surrounded by thin transparent membrane. This membrane is known as epimysium. The membrane is called as epimysium. Each muscle bundle is made up of several muscle fibers. Okay, several muscle fibers, which surrounded by an other thin transparent membrane, which is known as the endomysium. Okay, so this is epimysium, endomysium, and each muscle fiber, you can go ahead here, see this page. This is the structure of skeletal muscle is shown here in this diagram. Cylindrical in shape, these muscle fiber are the cylindrical in shape and 1 to 40 micrometer long and 50 to 100 micron in diameter. You can see the muscles all over these muscle fibers in that diagram. The fiber is surrounded by a very thin transparent membrane known as a sarcolemma. This muscle fiber is the structural unit of the bone muscle. You have to know this. Which is the structural unit of the bone muscle? What is that? Structural unit of bone muscle is called as muscle fiber. Okay, each bone muscle fiber is filled with a fluid that is called as the sarcoplasm, which has more than one nucleus. There are number of myofibrils, means these fibers of 1 to 2 micron in diameter are present in sarcoplasm. In sarcoplasm, there are myofibrils. Then they are parallelly linked by Z lines. There are Z lines. If you will go in Google and find out the detailed structure of the muscle and muscle fiber, then you will find these Z lines are there and all the things. Structure between the two Z lines is known as a sarcomere. You have to know this, sarcomere. What is mean by sarcomere? Structure between the two Z lines is called as a sarcomere in the sarcoplasm, which is the
Sorry
again.
to interrupt, sir. One request, if you can at least draw and show us how it comes, we'll be able to understand.
Actually what happens now, if you will go on the Google and see the video, they have shown the detail how one fiber comes out, what one fiber is having their Z lines, in between there is a sarcolemma, sarcoplasm, sarcomere. So everything is there in Google. You have to study it. Actually, what happens now? This whole chapter is very long, and we have only 10 classes to finish it. But as far as means, maybe you have to know all the things in detail. That's not the part. But what I am telling, you have to study it your own. I will show you here also. I can share one Google video also to you. But what is the better thing? I will explain you in this manner now only. And we have our own group. This is semester 3 group. I will send some videos to you. If you are finding out, that is okay. Otherwise, I will send. That will be better, I think. So that will save our time. You can see that. Okay. I will send in the group. Now, according to their contractility, bone muscles may be divided into two parts. Bone muscles are divided into two parts. One is a type 1 or red muscle and type 2 or white muscle. Red muscle and white muscle. Now we will see what is the difference between red and white muscle. These muscle fiber have less diameter and ability of contraction is also less. For example, muscle of the back. See, back muscles are the contraction ability is very less, and again diameter is also less. That's why these are called as the type 1 or red muscles. And the second type white muscle is large diameter and greater contractility is there. Muscles of rotates of eyeballs. See, eyeballs are just like you can move your eyeballs anywhere. Extreme right, extreme left, extreme up, down, anywhere, and round movements also. So we will go ahead. These two types you have to know, just two types, red muscle and white muscle. Okay, now muscle composition. What is the composition of the muscles? What is actual there in present in the muscles? Water element is 75 and solid element is 25%. Now in solid elements, there are organic and inorganic. Inorganic 1 to 1.5% only, which contains the sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, iron, chloride, phosphate, and sulfate. Okay, and in organic, there are 23.5 to 24%, which are 20% are proteins, then fat are only 0.2%. See, that's why we are saying the muscle building is a protein only, no fats. Fats is no diet of the muscles. Only 0.2%. Carbohydrate is 1%. Nitrogenous element, that is ATP, ADP, and AMP. You can see the long forms also. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, like that. I will send you otherwise. Creatinine, phosphate, pigment, myoglobin, and cytochrome, enzyme, coenzyme, and lactic acid. These all are the components in an organic form, the muscle. These are the by which the muscle is being formed. Now we will go ahead. The properties of the skeletal muscle. What are the properties of skeletal muscle? They have mentioned already 3 properties: excitability, conductivity, and contractility. These are the 3 properties. Excitability. Sarcolemma is a polarized membrane which has about 70 to 80 millivolt of potential difference in active phase. It becomes depolarized on getting adequate stimulus. See, now you have to know the excitability property. Means what? You can see any muscle, if it is not present in the body. Just imagine if it is not present in the body, the muscle is outside and we have given the current to that muscle. So 70 to 80 millivolts current is already there. That potential difference is there in an inactive phase. In this muscle, now it is in a resting phase. Suppose my hand is in a resting phase now, even though it has a 70 to 80 millivolts of potential difference. Just it requires one stimulus, like this. Means if I am getting outside any contact, or my brain is giving the stimulus to that according to my desire, I have to move this hand from this side to this side, like that. So these movements are happening because of the action potential is generating in that muscles because of the depolarization of the muscles. And this quality of the muscle is called as the excitability. Then conductivity. After getting an adequate stimulus, the whole length of muscle fiber becomes depolarized. And hence the contraction becomes possible in the muscle. Any muscle to contract, okay, for contraction of any muscle, it requires the adequate stimulus so that whole muscle fiber becomes depolarized. That property is called as the conductivity, so that whole muscle fiber is the better conduction. It has a conductivity property of the electrical impulse. So because of the electrical stimulus, action potential is generated and that muscle becomes depolarized. Depolarization happens. It is one graph. Actually, if you will read physiology in detail, this is anatomical structures we are studying now. But if you will go detail in the physiology, you will get this all phenomena, how it happens, how the calcium and potassium channel activates, and then how sodium goes inside the cells, and how this action potential creates, how muscle becomes depolarized, and how it contracts. Okay. Now the third quality is contractility. An adequate stimulus is able to create a contraction, and this contraction generates movement on bone joints also. 2 things are necessary for bone muscle contractions. Which are they? One is a stimulation, okay, of bone muscle, which may be electrical, mechanical, thermal, or chemical. Any kind of stimulation causes the contraction of the muscles. Any stimulation. See, you can see electrical current. If you will get electrical current, then immediately your hand will be contracted, muscles will be contracted. Mechanical, any trauma, anything falls on your hand or leg, any trauma, or mechanical. Thermal, anything. If you will have you go near the fire, you will get the thermal stimulus. Then chemical, any chemical, acid or something like any chemical. Now it provides energy for contraction. First is the stimulation and provides energy for contraction. Okay. These elements are necessary for producing energy in fiber. Glucose, oxygen, and enzymes are necessary for chemical reaction. Glucose is necessary. So why glucose? Glucose form, just go below. All these elements produce energy element ATP, adenosine triphosphate jointly, which produce. Now come to the next place, you will see one molecule of ATP means adenosine triphosphate. This is the energy form. This is energy by which energy energy is being created from this ATP, adenosine triphosphate. This is from the glucose only. ATPase enzyme which hydrolyzes and forms 7.3 kilocalorie of heat. Okay. This energy helps the bone muscle to contract. If you'll go in detail, you will find out how this ATP becomes forms in the muscles. Adenosine triphosphate from the glucose only. Now, there are two types of contractions mentioned, isometric contraction and isotonic contraction. Now, isometric, this occurs without changing a length of muscle. In this type, contraction, muscular tonicity increase. It does not produce movement. Okay, for example, standing on a same place with heavy load in hand. See this example, standing on a same place with heavy load in hand. Okay, it is tonicity is being increased. This is called as isometric contraction. Without changing the length of the muscle or not produce any movement. It does not produce any movement on bone or joints. Standing on a same place with a heavy load in hand. Then isotonic contraction. In this type of muscle, change its length without increasing tension. In this type of contraction, the length of the muscle decreases. Length of the muscle decreases. This contraction is able to produce movement on bone joints. For example, movement in legs. Movement of the legs. Okay. Now, bone muscles get order from brain to produce movement on the bone joints. Motor nerves transmit the order of the brain to muscles to produce movement on the joints. How the movements of the joints happen? Motor nerves. There are some electrical wires from brain which are coming and innervating to the muscles and the joints. Okay, that's why these movements happen. Each nerve has several nerve fibers. Like muscles is formed by the muscle fibers, nerves are formed by the nerve fibers. Generally, a single nerve fiber innervate 8 to 20 fibers, muscle fibers. 8 to 20 muscle fibers are being supplied by a single nerve fiber. This is the proportion. 8 to 20 muscle fibers. Muscle fibers are supplied by an electrical wire from which the current passes, which is called as a nerve fiber. A single nerve fiber is innervated to the 8 to 20 muscle fibers. Okay, this proportion you have to know. Then it is called as the motor unit. This might be a exam questions. You can see this. Motor unit of the nerve fiber, nerve cells is called as a nerve fiber. So, nerve fiber innervates the bone fiber is also known as the neuromuscular junction. What is meant by neuromuscular junction? Neuromuscular, the name itself suggests where the nerve fiber, neuron, okay, nerve fiber and muscle fiber, they are connected to each other. Means nerve is innervated into the muscle. That is called as a neuromuscular junction. See, the place where nerve fiber innervate bone fiber is known as neuromuscular junction, neuromuscular junction. The orders sent by the brain through nerves in the electrical form, a spatial structure formed at the junction of nerve and muscle, that is called as a neuromuscular junction. Now, the end part of the nerve fibers, the last part, the end part of the nerve fiber, form a button-like structure and the muscle end part surrounds it. The button-shaped structure is known as the presynaptic ending. You have to know this properly, a presynaptic ending. Then, and the surface of the muscles end which surrounds the button is known as the postsynaptic ending. Nerves ending is called as the presynaptic ending and the muscles part, which is surround the button-like structure of that presynaptic ending of the nerve fiber, which is called as a postsynaptic ending. There is a potential space between presynaptic and postsynaptics, which is called as the synaptic cleft. So this you have to remember. What is meant by synaptic cleft? Presynaptic ending and postsynaptic ending. These both, the space between both is called as the synaptic cleft. Okay. The hormones like acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is one type of hormone. Jumps through presynaptic ending into the synaptic cleft and stimulate the receptors present on the postsynaptic cleft and generates the electric current by depolarizing the muscle membrane. Now, to understand this, very simple. I will show you with my hands on. This is the nerve fiber. My finger is a nerve fiber. The end of this nerve fiber is a presynaptic cleft. Okay. These are some muscle fibers. Now it is surrounded by this nerve fiber, these muscle fibers. And this is called as the postsynaptic cleft. Distance between this presynaptic and postsynaptic. Now this is holding like this. Distance, there is some distance inside. Distance between this presynaptic and postsynaptic cleft is that is synaptic cleft. And some hormones are secreted from this nerve ending, which is called as acetylcholine. Because of this acetylcholine, which stimulates the receptors which are present on the postsynaptics, means this muscle fiber, and it generates the electric current by depolarizing these muscles, and that's why depolarization happens and the contraction of this muscle happens. This is electric current wire nerve, and these are the muscle fibers. It creates the action potential, and depolarization happens. Depolarization means it contracts, muscle becomes contract. That is called as a depolarization. Now different types of bone muscles are responsible for different types of movement or bone joints. Now different bones and joints are there. So they have mentioned different types of bone muscles are responsible for different types of movements. Which are they? Extensor group of the muscles called the extension. See, this my hand is now in the same place. This is extended. This is extension. Extension is because of the extensor group of the muscles. Flexion, or this is flexion. Flexion is because of the flexor group of the muscle. Then abductor group of the muscle is for abduction. Abduction means outside. My arm is going out. This is abduction. And it is coming in towards the body. It is adduction. Abduction, adduction. These movements, do you know these movements? Abduction means outside. My hand is going outside of the body. This is abduction. And adduction means this, my hand is coming towards my body. I am taking my hand to my body, towards my body. That is called as a adduction. These are adductor group of the muscles are responsible for adduction. Okay, and the circumrotation, full circumrotation. All above muscles group work together to form this movement of circumrotation, the round movement of any muscles. These are musculoskeletal system part. Now we will go to the next part, that is nervous system. Okay. If anybody is having any question, any query, you can ask me in the group also if any difficulty is there, or in the next lecture if anybody has not understood anything, so you can ask. We will have first 2-3 lectures, we have to go little faster to cover up the syllabus. Actually syllabus is more, and it's a very important actually nervous system, and these are very vast topics to understand. We will go to the nervous system directly. Now we have seen the bone system, now skeletal muscle system. Now we come to the nerve fibers and ultimately to the nervous system. This system is made up of the nerve cells. neuroglial cells, the packing material, and connective tissues. The structural and functional unit of this system is called as a neuron. So you might have asked this question. ... is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. So answer is neuron. Okay. Neurons are the wires with electric current running through it, but lack of reproduction capacity. Neuron never reproduce. In the body, all cells are reproduced except neurons, nerve cells. Nerve cells are called as a neurons. Neurons never reproduced. It are the fixed number. So total number of neurons decided at the time of a birth and they developed fully with the development of the body. They are the fixed in number. Okay. Now, come to the neuron or nerve cell. We will see the neuron or nerve cell. There is a diagram on the next page. This is called as a nerve cell. You can see this in detail now. Each neuron has a cell body of different diameter, the cytoplasm of which has a nucleus. Okay, with other organelles which help it to be independent. Every cell body has several tiny cytoplasmic extensions known as the dendrites. You can see every cell, several tiny cytoplasmic extensions are there, which are called as a dendrite. Upside part, these all are the dendrites. Okay. Now the cell body also has a long structure of 2 micron to 20 centimeter long, known as axon. See, these are the axons. These are the axons. This is cell body. This in between the myelin sheath. Axon is inside the myelin sheath also. This is axon. This part is called as axon. These are the dendrites. Nucleus is present inside. This is cell body, and these are the axons. Now axons are covered by the myelin sheath. You can go ahead. The free end of the axon divide into 10 to 25 terminal branches and form terminal button knobs. These buttons form synaptic junction. Okay, these axon terminals at the end. These are the synaptic junction where the acetylcholine like hormones are secreted and they generate the action potential so that muscle become depolarized. So muscles synaptic, presynaptic cleft, and this is postsynaptic cleft, and in between there is a synaptic junction that is called as synaptic junction or synaptic cleft with dendrites of other nerve cells. The electrical stimulation transmit from axon of one nerve cell to another nerve cell on these synaptic junction. So these are the nerve cells connected to each other through these axon terminals to other nerve cell. This is one single nerve cell which is given in this diagram. Is this in this picture? Okay. This is myelin sheath, which is a covering of the nerve cell. Actually, the body of the which is a covering of the axon or the whole cell, nerve cell. There is a in between two myelin sheath covering. There is a node of Ranvier is there. Node of Ranvier. Don't go in that much detail. You have to know this myelin sheath because on that basis there are two types of axons, neurons. We will go ahead, see these types of neurons. According to the structure, there are two types of neurons. One is a non-myelinated neuron and one is a myelinated neuron. Means axon is a longer structure of nerve cell, which is the cytoplasmic extension of the cell. It is surrounded by a thin membrane known as the axolemma. It protects axon and the fluid and ions present both sides of this membrane, generate potential difference and provide it conductivity for electrical stimulation. These are non-myelinated neurons, and when axon are completely covered with the myelin cells, which are bad conductor of electricity. These myelin sheaths are the bad conductor of electricity. That is just like a coating on the electrical wire. There are the electrical wires. We have seen these copper wires, and which are covered with the rubber or the plastic coating. That plastic coating or rubber coating is called as this myelin sheath. So it is just like that. Axon are completely covered with the myelin sheath, which are bad conductor of electricity, known as the myelinated neuron. Rate of conduction of electrical impulse is higher in myelinated neuron in comparison to the non-myelinated. Okay. Now we will go to the next thing, composition of neuron. Like muscle cell or muscle fiber composition, we are seeing this composition of the neuron. There is water is 75 to 78%, solid elements are 20 to 25%. In that, inorganic, organic and lipid 51 to 54%, protein 30 to 40%, carbohydrate 5%, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, chloride, and sulfate. These are again inorganic components of the neuron. Function of the neuron. The primary function of neuron is to keep in flow the electrical stimulation. Continuously electrical current is passing through these neurons. Except this, its cells body partially analyze and integrate sensations and orders. When body gets the sensation and orders, means sensation outside, cold, whatever it may be. Nervous system controls function of all body organs, but not endocrine glands. Now, nervous system means brain, spinal cord, and all the nerves. This all controls the everything in the body except the hormone system. But though hormone play a great role in a function of nervous system, hormone can play a role in the nervous system, but nervous system is not controlled to the hormonal system in the body. For study, this system is divided into two parts. Now, nervous system is divided into two parts. Come to the next page. One is voluntary and one is involuntary. Voluntary means according to our desires, we can move. Voluntary is there is a central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system again divided into two parts. That is a brain and spinal cord, which passes through the spine, vertebral column. And peripheral nervous system are combined with the two parts again. The cranial nerves, which are 12 in numbers, and the spinal nerves, which are 31 in number. 31 pairs. These are the paired. Okay, then involuntary muscles, involuntary nervous system is consists of sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. Okay, now functions of the voluntary nervous system. We will see the functions of voluntary nervous system to get informations from peripheral organs. Okay, then to analyze and integration of this received information, and third is to transmit the order to peripheral organs. Means peripheral, what is meant by this peripheral organ? Suppose I have to go for urination, then urinary bladder gives me the information. Means when urinary bladder gets full with the water out of its capacity, then it produces some impulses, it gives the impulses or some information. Means it's a peripheral organ, urinary bladder. It gives the information. So to get the information from the peripheral organ, okay, then to analyze and integrate this received information, that is the second function. And the third function is, so I have to go for the evacuation of the urine, correct? So transmit the order from the brain to the peripheral organs. This is like a two-way traffic. So that's why getting the information, this analyzing and integrating that information, and transmitting the information to the periphery. These three functions, major functions of the voluntary nervous system are there. Okay, then basis of the nervous system. Now in this basis of the nervous system, the basis of function of nervous system depends upon reflex, which is known as a reflex action. Okay, reflex action, you have to know this. There are three components of the nervous system. Afferent fibers, which carry the sensation from receptors to center, correct? Then spinal cord or brain serves as the center. Like above three functions of the voluntary nervous system, like that, afferent fibers, the spinal cord and brain, which serves the center, and the efferent fibers, which carry the orders from the brain to periphery. Again, the same thing is repeated. Okay, basis of the nervous system depends on the three things: afferent fibers, spinal cord, and afferent fibers means sensation from the receptors, means periphery to center, and the spinal cord and brain acts as a center. And now efferent fibers, which carry the orders from the brain or the center to the periphery. Efferent fibers, which carry orders from the center to periphery, originates from periphery receptors. These receptors are of three types. Now, three types of receptors. Which are they? See these three types of receptors: external receptors, proprioceptors, and internal receptors. You just have to know these three things: external, proprioceptors, and internal receptors. External receptors means which? Cutaneous. Cutaneous means on the skin, on superficial. Which are they? Pain. We feel the pain here, no? As soon as blow is there, we feel the pain. Then pressure, we feel the pressure. Then touch sensation, and the thermal sensation. All are superficial. These are the cutaneous, superficial sense. Then spatial senses. You might be knowing the spatial senses. Vision with the eye, auditory with the ear, taste with the tongue, and smell with the nose. Okay, these are the spatial receptors. These are all external. Now proprioceptors. This is an organ of the Golgi, muscle spindle, and vestibular. You can see organ of the Golgi is there in the leg muscles, where there is a tendo achilis muscle is there in the leg, foot, from the foot above on the back side. This is a tendo achilis, and the muscle fibers, the tendon and muscles where they are attached, there is the organ of Golgi. There are some receptors. So I have to go there or not go there. That is decided by that. So organ of Golgi is also belongs to proprioceptors. Then muscle spindles, all muscle spindles, and vestibular organs like inside the eye and all that. Then in internal receptors, there are three types. There are three types of internal receptors inside the body. Baroreceptors, they are present in this carotid artery. You might be knowing there is a one carotid vessel which supplies the blood to the brain, carotid artery. There is a baroreceptors are located in that carotid artery. Baroreceptors means what? As soon as your blood pressure increases, the baroreceptors get activated and it gives the impulse to the brain, and brain somehow it cools down and your blood pressure gets decreased. So baroreceptors are here. Then chemoreceptors means any chemical in the body, like any hormone, chemical. And osmoreceptors means you can smell it, and because of that, like a snuff, we can smell that snuff and we will sneeze out. That is osmoreceptors. These are internal receptors. And there are osmosis happens in all the cells of the body. So that osmosis also because of this osmoreceptors. So it has given the diagram: pressure, touch, thermal, etc. All the above receptors except skin are stimulated for a particular type of sensation. Skin is very sensitive to a particular stimulation, but also stimulate to other stimuli also. Okay. Now this much I have decided to cover up today. This is very fast, but I don't think unless and until we go with this speed, we cannot cover all syllabus. It's very tough. If any difficulty is there, you can ask me. We have seen, I will revise today's lecture within 2 minutes. I will revise. We have seen first all the types of bones, correct? There are 206 bones, which are they? We have seen already. There are 80 numbers of skull and facial bones, then 64 upper limb, lower limb, 62. Okay. After that, composition of bone. We have seen that chemical part. Then structure of bones. What is the structure of bone? Cylindrical, which has cavity, all that things. Medullary cavity, and endosteum, and above is the periosteum. These two terms you have to know. Function of the bones, it gives the shape and the capacity to bear. Okay. Then longitudinal bones. Then we have covered the skeletal muscle, means which are the above the joints, skeletal muscles. Okay. These muscles, fibers, structure of the skeletal muscle, how it was: epithelium, then fibers surrounded that is called as the endomysium, and epimysium, endomysium, then sarcolemma, then sarcoplasm is the fluids, and Z lines. In between there is a space which is called as sarcomere. Okay, that is the functional unit of the bone. Then two types of muscles, red muscle and white muscle. Then muscle composition we have seen, that is chemical part. Then properties of the skeletal muscle, which are excitability, conductivity, and contractility. These are three properties. Again, in contractility, stimulation of the bones with the electrical, mechanical, thermal, and chemical, and provides the energy for the contraction. Then ATPs, how ATP is formed. One molecule of ATP equal to 7.3 kilocalorie of the heat. Then isometric contraction, the changing the length of the without changing the length of the muscle, and in this type of contraction, tonicity is increased. Tone is increased. For example, standing on the same place with a heavy load in the hand. And isotonic, there is a muscle change its length without increasing tension. Contraction in the length of the muscle decrease. That is the, for example, movement in the legs, continue movement of the legs. Then neuromuscular junction, where the nerves and muscles are met together. That is neuromuscular junction. Then there are the different groups: extensor group, flexor group, adductor group, circumrotation group of the muscles. Then we have come to the nervous system. Then the smallest unit of the nervous system is called neuron, nerve cell. Nerve cell structure we have seen: dendrite, nucleus, cell body, axon, myelin sheath, okay, and axon terminals, which these terminals are connected to the other nerve cell to form the nerve fibers. Then types of neurons: non-myelinated neuron and myelinated neuron, which is covered of the myelin, and the non-myelinated, okay. Then composition of the neuron, and lastly we have seen function of the neurons, the electrical, to pass the electrical impulse, okay. The nervous system is divided into voluntary, involuntary. Voluntary system, there are two again: central and peripheral. In central, brain and spinal cord; peripheral, with the cranial nerves 12 pairs and spinal nerves 31 pairs. Involuntary, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Then functions of the voluntary nervous system: three functions. Get the information from the peripheral organs, to analyze it, integrate it, and transmit the order to the peripheral organs. Like that, basis of the nervous system is afferent fibers, the spinal cord and brain. These are acts as the center, and the afferent fibers, which are giving the information again. Receptors, there are the receptors which cause these electrical impulses. External receptors, there are cutaneous and spatial. Cutaneous: pain, pressure, touch, thermal. Spatial: vision, auditory, taste and smell. Then proprioceptors: organ of Golgi, muscle spindle fiber, vestibular. Integrated receptors: baroreceptors, chemoreceptors and osmoreceptors. Okay, this is what we learned today. So if any difficulty is there, we can solve it tomorrow, or in the group you can ask the questions. Okay, so good night. I have to say thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Sir. Good night, sir.
Thank you.
Good night, sir.